It's the Intergalactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 102 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel. We are just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch, but sometimes we talk about other sports. And sometimes during particular parts of the season, we spend a little bit of the beginning of the show talking about whatever season it is. It is still football season for some of you, or it's going to be Usher concert season for you. So I know you've got an important game today at 6:30.
6:30.
Yes. Brad is back. Welcome back to the show, Brad. We've missed you the last few weeks. He thought you were going to wear either a Seahawks or a Lions hat today. I think she's all Lions today, Brad.
I am all Lions, but I don't want to go around being a bandwagon jumper in terms of I love my city and I want them to be happy, and I understand the trauma that goes on here, and we'll get into this in a minute because this is going to be hilarious. But
yes.
Like at the end of the day, it's like it's great. And it's a great story and it's a lot of fun. And it's perfect because I don't have the local trauma that everyone that Lions fans have. So I have zero to being able to shit talk. And because I'm a diehard Seahawks fan, I already fucking hate the Santa Clara 49ers. So they can go eat it. And I have been trolling.
Oh, hi, Mel.
Hi. I've been trolling against stars all week long, just because I had
so
to do
Mel
it.
has been hazing me and sabotaging me. So I shot Sam a DM this morning. This whole thing has backfired because I tried to just, well, you guys were already on, jump on, so to surprise everybody, but. You know, I just wanted to tell Mel, and I wanted to tell the Powerbombshells viewers that go 49ers, suck it Lions, suck it Seahawks. I think it's going to be a great game today, but I think the 49ers are going to beat some ass, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm here in beautiful Hawaii, so I'm not some Santa Clara asshole. Right now I'm a Hawaii asshole. But unfortunately, this whole thing almost shit the bed, because check this out. Like, I had to go behind a wall, because as I go over here, the beach is right behind me, but the wind is just so awful right now that it was going to jack up the sound. So I have to go get blocked by a wall on my run. So,
this is how much fire I have stirred up here, is that he like literally found a spot where he could specifically from another multiple time zones away.
Yeah,
give it back.
It's 8 in the morning. I'm supposed to be jogging right now, doing my weekend jog. I tried to do it yesterday, but for some reason Hawaii wants to have weather right now. Yesterday it was raining, and today there's a cloud. It's bullshit. I can't stand it.
A whole cloud? Jeez.
It's guys, it's 67 degrees and windy outside. What am I supposed to do with this?
Hey,
you better get some blankets.
I have something here for you that you'll enjoy, like real quick. I really do. I have this because it actually does exist, and I've been wondering if there would ever be a time. But this right here is actually the world's smallest violin, and I have it, and it actually does play. I'm not a real good violinist. But I'll just play this for you after the give my soliloquy to you after the game today. If when things go the right way and good guys win and the people that don't even play in the town that their team is named after, you know.
Hey, look. I know. Look, I think females should be really be sympathetic towards the 49ers. It's very hard to get a name change, okay? Like it's a lot of paperwork involved. It costs money. So they just stuck with San Francisco, even though they clearly are from Santa Clara now.
They're not. Yeah. I mean, whatever. It is a lot of paperwork. I knew someone in one of the offices in Oakland at one point, but I don't even care because the Seahawks
are we
play in
getting
Seattle, and we're called Seattle Seahawks. And the Detroit Lions will be downtown at Ford, or well, they would have been playing downtown at Ford Field if they hadn't got handed that ref thing, but we won't get into that because you don't have time. Because it's 67.
Honestly, I wish they would switch it to Santa Clara or San Jose. They're like right on the border. Because let's be honest, San Francisco's a dump. I don't think that's a nice town at all. Every time I went there, it was not a great experience. I saw Tool downtown at the Bill Graham Auditorium one day, and there was like a homeless guy defecating on the sidewalk. So
I had similar experiences. My experiences in the Bay Area were way than like San Francisco. Like going to San Jose, we saw the Red Wings play at the Shark Tank, and it was a lot of fun because we had I used to work out of, my company used to be based out of the Bay Area.
Yeah. So. Every experience I've ever had in San Jose and Santa Clara has been great, but San Francisco, just horrendous traffic, horrendous parking. Haight-Ashbury is kind of cool though if you ever get to check it out.
Well, I mean, you got to go to, like, if you hit the important spots, it's like when you go to Baltimore, you got to hit like Poe's grave and stuff if you're brave enough. But
hey, before I get off here, what did you guys think of Jordan Grace and the Royal Rumble? Was that cool or what?
I thought that was amazing. I went back and I was covering Collision, so I went back late last night and watched the women's Rumble, which was way better than the men's. And Jordan looked incredible, and she's amazing, and she's my favorite knockout. And so to see the stuff with Naomi was really cool to kind of, so she ended, that was really cool that she, they got their last match together in Impact, and then they got to carry it over to WWE, which nobody ever expected. So that was very cool, and she looked amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah. I thought she looked great. I thought she looked like she belonged in there with a lot of more people that are way more famous than her. Because TNA, whatever you guys want to say, like they're a small company on a small channel, but for her to get that big reaction in front of 40,000 people and then get a big TNA chant going, and clearly people knew that Naomi and Jordan Grace had recently wrestled because they popped whenever they were face to face. So like everybody did know that. So I think people are really watching along on YouTube and things like that. So, which helps my podcast out because I think people are going to start learning more about it.
You want to plug that podcast of yours?
No, this is not about me. This is about the Power Bombshells. I didn't get to come to you guys' 100th episode, so I do apologize for that. It's
okay.
8 a.m.
You didn't come because it was your wife's birthday. I think we can forgive you that.
It was my wife's birthday weekend, and we were on Sunday morning. We had a whole ritual for Sunday morning, so.
Oh, nice. Well, good.
We're having a birthday party soon. Maybe you can hang out with us then.
We'll be our show will be turning 2 soon. So
yeah. Oh,
I think we lost your audio.
Oh, wait.
Go 49ers.
Oh, all right. Well, hopefully you two will have fun and not murder each other, and maybe you'll be able to come back.
It's all in love at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Go Lions!
No heat. All right, bye guys.
Santa Clara sucks. Actually, Sam, thank you for doing that because it's been a lot of fun.
That was all Mike Gilbert. He messaged me. I didn't even realize he had messaged me. I was doing my makeup and I went to go and my phone was charging and I looked at it and I was like, I have a message from Mike Gilbert. And then he's like, hey, what time are you going live today? And I was like 1 and he was like, okay. And he's like, don't tell Mel, but just send me your StreamYard link because she's been hazing me all week. So I got it for him. And that's why I was trying to get us on air. And then he popped up before we could go live.
It's been,
but I'm glad he made it.
So I kind of thought of this during the week as soon as like they lost and like everything settled down. It was like, oh, this is gonna be against the 49ers, and I knew that none of the people around here from here were gonna talk shit because it's very special but somber time here in Detroit. Like because one of the things is that the team always lets people down. So even. Sure. He was even trying to give out, he went so far, he was like trying to talk shit to like John Hughes. And John Hughes is like, no way. I'm from this city. I've lived here my whole life. They've let me down. Like, and I was like, allow me to send, and this is even friends. I was like, hey, I got you guys because I already hated the 49ers because of being a Seahawks fan and them being in our division.
Right.
And we've had heated rivalries forever.
Of course.
And for fun, I know exactly the person that I kind of would have a funny time. He says hazing. I was probably antagonizing him, but basically it was that I would like random tweets, occasional live streams, comments on it. And the best part about it sort of was like, as for, as much as I was just giving out to him and, gifts and memes and go Lions, it's also elevating like his algorithm a little bit. So it's like, we're talking on there. It's like, well, at least this is building this video up. Like at the same time that, we're totally giving out to each other. But it is all in good fun because in reality, like it's just a game. And,
of course. But
it's, still. I'm really glad. Thank you guys. That's hilarious.
It
made my whole day.
We could do that for you before and get a little, since it's game day. But I was
fun.
Glad to facilitate that when he asked.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Yes. Especially because, I'm glad we have a little bit of fun because we're going to get to some serious topics in a bit.
We have some serious
bit. We'll probably
stuff,
start, we're going to start with it just because I don't want to end on that note.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think serious topic. Get that out of the way.
Yeah, I don't want to end on that. So many.
Me either.
It's been a
week.
It's been rough, and before actually, if you're watching this either now or if you're going to go back and watch the replay, we'll just go ahead and give you a trigger warning. I don't know what type of details we'll get into, but regardless, I know this conversation in general is triggering. So if this conversation is not for you, please feel free to stop watching now or to fast forward. We don't plan to spend a whole lot of time on it. Say maybe 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. I don't know where the conversation is going to go. Come back later. Don't feel like you have to sit through this. But of course, we do want to talk about it, especially because, I've been covering Speaking Out since the beginning. I've been covering Vince for the last few years. And then obviously just being a woman, this is something that affects the wrestling fan. Affects people who, who have experienced these things. Maybe not onto this level, but in any type of form. So just wanted to go ahead and preface that now that we wanted to put that in there, that if you need to leave for a bit or fast forward, if you're watching this at a later time, please do whatever is best for you. So just make sure. So if you're watching live and you need to go for a little bit, go ahead and go now, and we will see you back whenever you're ready.
And real quick, guys, I threw some links up on the screen that you'll see there. I just, in case, because you'll never know. Sometimes it sneaks up on you. And they've made it easier than ever to really get help with things. Yes. So,
and there's also, I may even put the links up on our page. The article because I wrote about the situation with Vince, and at the bottom, because Kate from Fightful retweeted some other numbers that I included in there. So this one was on there. Also, there is a hotline for trafficking. There's also a website for where you can chat with somebody with trafficking, and there was stuff for obviously sexual assault and things like that. So there are resources out there, and we'll post that on our Twitter just so that if you ever need, bookmark it. If you or someone ever needs that, and again, like Mel said, stuff can sneak up on you. So we do want to have a couple of resources here for you, should you need them.
And I wanted to, just go ahead because I just lost the thought. It completely flew out of my mind.
No, I understand. So we didn't really, Mel and I didn't really talk about what we were going to talk about today. We just knew we were going to talk about this topic. So this conversation may kind of go all over the place, or maybe it just sticks to a formula. I don't know where this conversation is going to go. But so Thursday, I was sent a text. It was actually a tweet from somebody saw Garrett's tweet where Garrett had posted the free link to Wall Street Journal to read the article. Wall Street Journal, I will say, has done some really incredible work the last couple of years reporting on the things that Vince McMahon has been doing as far as especially like NDAs and things like that. They have been on top. Their reporting has been really great. It's been a very good resource for a lot of us. And so Thursday, news broke that a former employee was suing Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and the WWE for a variety of things, including sexual abuse and trafficking, which is probably one of the most shocking things I've seen. Like, in a way, it's not shocking just because of what we know about Vince, but to see those words and then to read the 67-page lawsuit was really difficult. I felt that I needed to read it before I wrote about it. The Wall Street Journal article was phenomenal, and that enough I know was really hard to read because it was hard enough for me to read. And then I went through and I decided to read because it was in one of the Slacks for my editor, but then I am apparently on a mailing list, and it was sent to me as well. And so it took me about 3 hours to get through. I mean, I was stopping in between because there were obviously so much conversation was happening and text messages and Slack and all that. So I was going back and forth, but it took, and then I just like, after I read it, I just like, I had to there was one time that I had to just stop. Like I was like, I have gotta just for a minute. And then I just had to sit with it for about a half an hour before I could even think about writing. And then I told my editor, I was like, I don't even know where to start. Was like, it's one of the most heinous things I've ever read in my life. I was like, it was just very hard to read. And then, we were screenshotting parts of it because there were things, because the people if you haven't read the lawsuit, there are 4 corporate officers who knew something was going on. First 2 seem to know everything.
Absolutely.
Other 2 other 2 knew, or actually the first 3 knew something. The 4th one suspected something.
Had some, they were suspicious of the situation.
And they are no longer with the company. So one of the descriptions, people think they figured out who it is. So some of these people are still employed with WWE, which is another tough thing. And then the information was the photos and videos that she was making for him. He was telling her, on the one hand, keep this private. We don't want anybody to be suspicious. We don't want you to draw any suspicion. But then he was turning around and taking it to multiple other people and showing them these things. And she had no clue. She didn't know these people. And then he was promising things that she would do. He was promising on her behalf these things. Some of these people may or may not still be in the company. And then you think about like just the timing too. Like, this is during COVID, like all this stuff. This is coming when they are laying off people in record numbers.
It took place between March 19th and June of 22, which is so entirely
recent,
messed up.
Like, she still like, that was only 2 years ago.
Yeah, I actually
not even
start to think about it. I said to Bob, we were going in April of that year, essentially, to 2 months into this woman's stint, we were going to a WrestleMania, and it made me feel dirty. Like,
yeah,
I had this moment of, and I'm, you can't do that stuff to yourself because it's not how the world works.
Sure.
And that's like, but for a minute, you're like, as if it can make you feel any grosser, you feel really gross because you're like, this was going on, and I was like partaking of this product at the time, and it makes me feel like an angry. I'm a sad and angry wrestling fan right now. So
it's very much how Speaking Out felt when I was reading these things, and David Starr was somebody, because David Starr was the first one who was named. David Starr is somebody who was in my local promotion often. I talked to him, not like, not full on conversations, but I talked to him because obviously I was at the shows all the time. So we would say, hey, great match, just kind of things like that. But he was somebody, he was wrestling like literally every single month. He was in my promotion for 6 months and on it. And like, he was having these great matches. I was a fan of his. Then Joey Ryan came out. Joey Ryan is somebody who was at my local promotion. Other people came out that they were either in my local promotion or clearly being somebody who follows indie wrestling. People that I saw, I liked, enjoyed their matches, told people to go check out their matches, and so it's kind of that feeling all over again. Is you don't know what you're consuming, and it's just
But the people that, worse than that, is that there are people who are actively involved in the company at this very minute that we are speaking to one another, who knew there's no way they could not have known this was going on.
Right.
And that is troubling, to say the least.
That they were allowing
most of my research came from, and I just to throw this out there a little bit, is that I actually because it was behind a paywall, I didn't read the Wall Street Journal. I let Dave read it to me because I pay for Dave, and he cited, and having read the lawsuit also, he did a pretty solid analysis of it.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I was hoping I was going to get to it before today so I could weigh in, but
I actually read The Observer.
There's another podcast Brandon Thurston and John Pollock did together on Friday.
Oh, okay.
That was about an hour long. I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but the friend who sent it to me did, and kind of gave me an overview. Like as he was listening, he was kind of sending along some thoughts, and so they felt that they did have to kind of read some of the graphic things because it was pertinent to the story, but they handled it really well. Apparently they kind of broke it down step by step, kind of legally type of things, because one of the things I think that is not being talked about, and I think it's just because obviously there's just a ton of information in those 67 pages, is that there was some national stuff going on, because there was some going over state lines type of thing that adds in some other issues. The lawsuit even mentions international in parentheses, and he at one point was bragging about being on a phone call with the Saudi crown prince. And so he was bragging about this. However, so apparently as John Pollock and Brandon Thurston were going over this, they realized that this was going on while the whole thing in Saudi happened. Remember, the planes were grounded and all of that. Apparently they were in communication during that whole situation. So there's a lot.
During the scary moment where the one plane left, where Vincent took his buddies and left his whole crew and cast, and most of his cast, in a very dangerous nation.
Yes, this was going on, and he appears he was in contact with her. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Brock Lesnar was on that plane with Vince, wasn't he?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so. And again, I want to go listen to this podcast and listen to some of these kind of views to it. I just haven't gotten to it because there's been so much happening this weekend, which is generally happens when this news comes out. We've talked about this often, how WWE is very much a look over here, not over here type of thing. And it's it's very interesting. The big thing that was supposed to come out this week was Monday, or maybe it was Tuesday. The former Velveteen Dream his interview was coming out, where he apparently, I'm not going to watch it, but apparently he deflected, said because he wasn't arrested, that means he didn't do it. Not that there's a loophole in Florida that kept him from being arrested. So it was just this whole thing. So that everybody's completely forgotten about it. And then the next day, but then like the same day that interview came out, I believe, if my timing is correct, the Netflix news came out like the same day. And then the next
Netflix
day
came out Friday of last week.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so no, it was The Rock. Was it The Rock joining
Sunday,
TKO?
This Sunday, today. So the Friday previous to us, a week before.
Okay.
They broke it late.
Right.
They did a Friday news dump. That was
That's right.
I read
Okay.
Dave's preview, and also I got into that section as well of the Observer, just because I was talking to up to the point where this brought everything to a screeching halt.
Yeah,
I was
'cause I
talking
think
to
it
people
was-
like
so-
Garrett about it. So
The Rock stuff, I think, was on Tuesday, right? Because there was the picture
yes,
of
it was
them
right
on
before they basically were like, "Hey, The Rock is going to be on the board," and then the very next day it was like this filing. They
right.
had
And
to
then
know
the
when
picture,
the
because there's the
you
big
would know when the filing was coming because you would know. That's
right.
They would have
Right.
to.
And so the picture came up.
inform
There's
you.
the picture of the TKO staff. The Rock is in it. Triple H is in it, and so is Vince McMahon. But he's not in the day-to-day operations of TKO. But here, where he's still important enough to trot out here with The Rock. Right. I mean, it's just so is there, because we talked about, like, so I don't know if you guys remember that when the last time another woman came forward, or it came out that another woman had come forward, the very next day Mandy Rose was fired. And so everybody they were trying to distract, and they were talking about, and a lot of people were talking about Mandy Rose instead of that. So there's a lot of parallels. There's very much a lot of WWE PR stuff. PR was working overtime yesterday because there was pictures of Triple H. He was like, there was Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and it was like, "Are you ready?" And then there was like, he was tweeting some other things, and it was the PR was very much working overtime yesterday to try to distract
very late
everybody.
at night, before, like 27 minutes before the Wall Street Journal. It just because of timing, I randomly saw some things. He was tweeting about, "This is going to be a great weekend. The Royal Rumble's going to make stars." And then this news broke. Within the next time I scrolled, because I picked up my phone again to scroll, because a friend had said something in my group chat, and it was like, "You dicks." I mean, I'm sorry. But it just,
Right.
They knew exactly what, and you have to. I mean, legal is legal. The process is the process. They knew what they were doing, because they would have had to have been informed. Lawyers have to inform other lawyers of these things going on.
Right.
And they knew this was coming. And I think the thing about us is, like, so you and I spoke about this, and I said that because you have covered all of these things, including speaking out, including Vince, it would be remiss to not say something because
Of course.
of your, and so I, made sure to try and make sure and educate myself so that I understood what was going on. And it's important. And I think that Janelle Grant deserves justice and deserves to have herself, God bless. But the point is that, like, I think we needed to address it, because we are people that are advocating for these things and have advocated for change in the business. And this is like, but the thing that keeps sticking out to me is that you have said all along, there's more coming. And the reports were, at the time last year when this investigation, which they fired her weeks before that investigation started.
Didn't talk to her according to her lawsuit.
And didn't talk to her, even though she made herself available. But that means there were, and they made at the point at that time that there were multiple of these made up, air quotes, positions for people.
Right.
So this is not the only person. And now that she's been brave enough to come forward, and I'm like scared. And I mean, and you know what? He should face better. I have a very good friend who, for over 10 years now, has had a Resilience Rising. They are an organization who help survivors of trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a wonderful organization out of Colorado. And so I've kind of paid attention to this for a long time.
Sure.
And I hope that this, because it's hard to get criminal filings out of civil filings. And that's
Right.
going to be the biggest concern right now, is that
Right.
it takes a DA saying, we have all this preponderance of evidence that says that we need to start a criminal investigation into this company.
Well, and on top of that, the FBI, it came out last year that the FBI had a grand jury. I think it was they had a subpoena,
Secret grand
for a
jury
search
subpoena.
warrant. Yeah, grand jury subpoena for a search warrant on his home, and I believe somebody, I can't, because there's been so many things coming out, and so I don't remember who said it, but apparently they also had access to his phone. I don't know how true that is, but if he had access to the phone,
And I
I
apologize
assume
for
that
the
also
background.
means that would mean backup stuff like iCloud, whatever storage. The FBI can get to things, whether you delete them off your phone
If
or
they
not.
had a warrant through the courts that they utilize,
Yeah.
they know a lot. And
Yes.
that,
Yes.
and if they, I mean, you can, trafficking is a federal crime.
Yes.
And I would
And
love
this could be
to see him charged with a federal crime and
and it
finally
sounds like there is definitely a possibility
But
that these are that this case with Janelle Grant is related to whatever the FBI was searching last year. We don't know that for sure. It
Well,
is
they might
maybe
need
there are
the local-
parallel
they might
investigations.
need-
There could be parallel things going on, because we know that Vince McMahon has done a lot of really terrible things. Janelle Grant is not the only one. Rita Chatterton came out in 1992, said that Vince raped her in 1986. Nobody believed her. One of the people she told is Andre the Giant, who's no longer here. There's very few. She's not going to get her day in court. Basically, it's not because the steroid trial came out right after they were trying to go after because she came forward and they were going to go after her for Vince was going to take his, because that's the thing. One of the things that he mentions that was mentioned in the lawsuit was that early on in his, when he was still, they were kind of still friends or whatever, and he told her that he has very powerful lawyers and they will get rid of they will get rid of problems or people who become problems. So he let her know right then and there that if she resisted him in any way, he would financially ruin her with lawyers. He already knew the situation she was in with losing both of her parents, and she was the caregiver for both of them. She also lost the family home due to bankruptcy. A apartment manager introduced them, trying to get her some help because they felt bad for her. She's having a hard time finding a job, all of these things. And so then he also trauma bonded with her. In the very first day that they met, he said to her, he told her about how he grew up. And if you're not familiar with I don't know all of the details. Vince grew up with a father who did not love him. His mother was married to a stepfather who abused him. So clearly he has got a lot of issues, and he uses that to manipulate women. And it sounds like from when I was reading this law, because as soon as I read that, I said to Nikki, listen to this. He's trauma bonding with her. Said it to some people in Slack that he was doing that same thing. So that shows you that he has a pattern, that there are more than one woman. So then this is why it goes back to Rita Chatterton. He was doing who knows if they were trauma bonding then. It may have, who knows if that's something that he developed later. But these things have been out there for 40 years about him. And he's been allowed to get away with it, in part because he does have powerful lawyers. There was a situation with a woman who owned a tanning salon in Boca Raton, Florida. That had nothing to do with wrestling. That should have got him arrested. Because Vince is who he is, he was able to make it go, well, I won't say not make it go away, but he was able to make it go away for as long as he could. I'll put it that way.
That one was really recent and flew completely under the radar, right?
Yeah, it was just a few years ago.
Because it was kind of in the middle of all the craziness that was going on during FTC filings and SEC filings and all of these things.
Right.
Honestly, the only reason that he is getting caught in this situation is because he tried to mess with a public. He did this with a publicly. If he had kept the company private, we would never know about this. This has everything to do with the fact that WWE is a publicly traded company. That's part of the reason that, I mean, I think it's good and important that the company is named in the lawsuit, because the bottom line is you knew and you understood exactly what you were selling stockholders. All of these people at minimum should be facing some sort of trade violations, because they knew the people that are not named but are referred to in the lawsuit should be liable, because they knew that they were misleading shareholders, and that's just illegal. I mean, there's a million ways to get charges on these folks, and they deserve it. And it needs to happen.
That's the big thing.
Just scared.
If you are complicit in this, I don't care who you are or what your position is, you got to go.
Yeah.
You cannot be there.
I completely agree. Jim Valley and I had a quick talk on Twitter. We both loudly agree that the place needs to be cleansed. You can't start again. This is one of those times where you have to erase everything and start from scratch, because techs were getting these videos, producers, talent. I mean, to get someone to sign a contract, like, that's just the thing that, like, all of it, just there's layers. Like, that's what I was telling people. I was like, if you decide to read the lawsuit, please know that every time you think it can't get worse, it does. Oh, it does.
It gets worse and worse, and it's not only the physical things that were happening, because those are terrible, but it's the psychological stuff too that is kind of getting lost in all of this. She suffers from PTSD. She can barely eat still. It's been almost 2 years, and she's still coming to terms with what happened to her. She is going to need treatment for the rest of her life to deal with what happened to her. Rita Chatterton her lawyer said last year that pretty much the same thing happened to her. She has PTSD. This situation ruined her life.
And there's a little more heat this time because of the situation in her case. There was no attention paid to it basically at all. Again, you and I both admitted that we hadn't even heard of that until recent
I did not know who
sometime within the last 3 years.
A few years ago.
That's I mean, that in and of itself is a crime. But I mean, this guy gets off because he has powerful lawyers, and he uses the intimidation and the legal, and we all know it works because we've seen it work with everything. He has, I mean, he's essentially murdered wrestlers. I've been reading Dave's first from 2001. He put out a book. It was called Tributes, and it has Owen Hart, and it has Brian Pillman, and it has a bunch of people, and this guy gets away with everything. He gets away with it. And
I'm not
the worst of all.
It is, and I don't know that I still don't think this is the end.
I don't either, and that's the part I don't like.
I think that because of the way there's rumor, I don't want to say too much because I don't have a lot of information.
Right.
There are rumors that during the same time period, he was also engaged in a relationship with a female wrestler. I don't know the extent of it. I don't know. I haven't heard details, and I actually I heard about this for the first time a couple of months ago. I don't know how accurate it is, but given what we have just found out, I'd probably give those rumors more weight. And even still, even if that rumor itself turns out to not be true, there are several women who have NDAs. If they see that Janelle has come forward, they may be like, you know what, I signed mine under duress. I was forced. I was given 8 days to sign something.
And she's also asking for that to be completely voided, which she has a really great case for. And I think that that's more important, because if she's able to void hers, it will set the precedent for them to have.
Right. And see, this is a conversation I've been actually, before this even came out, it was a conversation I was having with someone who was who's been covering Vince for longer than I have. And we were talking about some of the things, and he was like, these NDAs they don't necessarily have to hold up in court, because if they were signed under duress, or if they were forced into signing them, then they don't stand up, and most judges aren't going to enforce it. And so we were saying, a conversation that we've had many times is, do these women come forward, or do they wait until Vince dies and then come forward, because they feel like there won't be, because the fear is still there. Because the fear that he has created, which is something that I watched a clip of a video with Janelle's lawyer that was like the other day. I forget, it was like Law, and I forget the name of the show that it was on, but somebody sent me I saw the link to, or the YouTube video, and her lawyer was like, there was an environment of fear, not just for her, but for other people. And she was like, she doesn't have firsthand knowledge of other victims, but she believes that there probably are other victims, and she hopes that by coming forward, other people will be empowered to come forward. And then I have heard stories that in the 80s, he was hiring Playboy Playmates to be assistants and forcing them to sign NDAs. I don't know how true that is, but there's those women who could potentially come forward.
Dave reported a lot on his escapades in the 80s, the late 80s and early 90s, because a lot of things like similar, like mini versions. He's a predator, so he's escalated his behavior. So he's gotten away with it, and he's gotten away with it,
yes.
and he's gotten
more and more, because he's gotten away with it so long. He's gotten more bold,
and this is now full blown like sex slavery. Let's
right. No,
that's what it is. Like, you cannot read this and say anything else. Like, truth is truth. And Janelle deserves her day in court, and she deserves justice, and she deserves peace. And
agreed.
I mean,
I know it's hard.
It's very hard to like separate, and it's not just about being a lady; it's about being a human being too.
Yeah.
I had a lot of, to the great credit of our network, good conversations, I guess, if you can call it, but encouraging conversations with men who are equally as frustrated. And I think it's the bigger picture for me is, when I really come down to it, and I don't want to I don't want to make this about me, but at the end of the day, this WWE is the biggest company in North America, and I mean, essentially the world. Like, this is what people think of wrestling fans now. This is now, when we all sit around and we do what we do, and we love what we love, and we have the communities that we have that are great, and is that we get essentially lumped in with this narrative of a man who is a disgusting piece of trash. And it's just like, it's bad for wrestling. It's bad for people. It's bad for humanity. It's bad for culture. I don't want the story of pro wrestling to be, oh, isn't that sport where that predator runs things?
Well, it made it
like that.
The situation
pisses me off. Like, we're supposed to. I want to be done with this.
I get it. And I will get to the press conference.
Yes.
The press conference in a minute.
We have to talk about that part too.
But that made it to, like, and obviously the Daily Mail is a tabloid.
Yeah,
but
of course.
His response made it to the Daily Mail.
It was on my national news last night on NBC.
There was I wonder, I don't know.
My national news report that I watch every day, because I'm that old lady.
It made it to Friday night. It was on Inside Edition. We had the TV on, and Inside Edition was
NBC
on. NBC
News covered it as a main story.
And so I believe somebody said it up here. I think Brad said it in the comments.
Sorry about your we haven't been ignoring you guys.
No, he said, he said, I'm glad this isn't just Dave and wrestling media covering this. This is a legit real world media coverage, both a lawsuit and Triple H's awful press conference. Yes. Because I was going to go back to, hopefully, let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah. So this is a real headline. I saw was a tweet about it, and it's the Indy 100, and the headline is Triple H calls weak Vince McMahon was accused of sex trafficking. Amazing. I'm glad they didn't sugarcoat it.
You know, it's very interesting, since we're talking about things like that, is that it's not someone that I'm like usually over the moon about, but Ronda Rousey was very, She didn't mince words. She flat out said.
I was very surprised that she said any. I just wasn't thinking about it. I think just because obviously there's so much, and it's funny because she sends that out like the same. Another thing that was the Triple H tweeted out was a video of Hulk Hogan explaining the Royal Rumble. And I was like, this is just so tone deaf. Like, I know it's the Royal Rumble and all this, but Hulk Hogan is his own. There's the own stuff with that. With he's openly racist. Well, not openly because he hides it, but he's clearly on camera being racist. He's on audio being racist more than once. And he's just, there's this whole thing about him, and they're trying to be like, oh, it's 40 years since Hulkamania and all this crap. And then just the timing with everything. And I was like, and because obviously Hulk Hogan got really famous in the 80s when WWE got famous. In the 80s is when Vince was doing stuff that he's been doing for 40 years. So it's just, it's a lot. But yeah, so I guess we will get to the press conference, which I did watch because I wasn't. So I think I said last week it was, or the week before, that I announced that I was now writing for a new website and would be covering Raw and SmackDown. So I've only been doing this for 2 weeks. Now this is happening. And I was like, this is why I don't like this company to begin with. And
yeah, it made me really sad because it was like, this is the worst timing ever because Sam just got like a really solid gig doing something, but now it's for this asshole company and it's
right. Yeah, because somebody said to me the other day, I don't think they know about my position, which I don't expect everybody to, but he was like, well, one of the ways to combat this is to not watch the product. Well, I don't have a choice.
Well, some of us need to pay our bills, so.
But which is right. Like, I get it. Like, if I was not working, if I was not doing this, then no, I probably.
Well, of course, but this is like, I mean, it needs to be. So the fact remains is that there's no ethical consumption under capitalism anyway, but the bottom line here is like under crony capitalism that we have. But it's just ridiculous to think that, like, I mean, you still have to, because and I mean, maybe it's better because now we know there's at least one real journalist covering WWE. No, I'm serious.
Listen,
though. At least I know that one person is with a brain and the ability to like critically think and write, even if it doesn't, like, your articles aren't like going to be super crazy or anything because it's coverage. But at the end of the day, you can critically think, and there will be teachable moments in you watching WWE that you can put in your work.
Yeah. And well, one of the things that I talked about, actually, now that you say that, was on Friday when I was covering SmackDown. We do an article with things we love and things we hate. And so it was the thing we all hated, but they had already so I was like, I will write about this. And so it was the fact that the announcement of Vince getting fired overshadowed everything. And it wasn't that, it was the timing, because I'm sure Endeavor was working on a way to get rid of him because it's in his contract that basically they can't fire him unless he is dead or incapacitated or he resigns. And I'm sure they were working on it. However, I think Slim Jim pausing their sponsorship escalated it to the point where they're like, see, you gotta go, you're taking money from us, and that's not gonna work. And if they're doing it, then other sponsors are gonna do that, and you can't be
other advertisers did express, and I know that shareholders that they, I mean, there were press releases by several companies to their shareholders saying, we're not cool with this, kind of signaling to WWE or TKO as it is now, we're not cool with this.
Yeah, and I saw something about one major sponsor apparently has been thinking about working with WWE, and then that news came out, and they were like, "Never mind."
Bye.
So I'm sure that's what escalated. But so the statement that he was, so first it came from Nick Khan, and just it was very basic. Vince isn't here anymore. No glowing thank you for everything you've done for wrestling. No, none of that like the last time around when they forced it, when he retired. There was, they were like, oh, Vince McMahon is great and he did all these things. This is a very quick, he's not here. We're not working with him anymore. and then it comes, but it came out during, I don't know that the timing is probably coincidental, but just looking at it, it came out when Bailey was, a vignette of her came out. So I'm like, during a women's thing. Then shortly after, there was a women's tag team match. So everybody is talking about Vince being gone instead of focusing on the women match. Like he's still a cloud over women is my point. And so it's not, and it's very frustrating. And it was like, even on his way out, he finds a way to diminish women. I know he didn't, but he also released a statement right after and was, of course, still denying the accusations and saying he's going to fight it. But for the good of WWE, he was stepping down, or whatever bullshit reason he said. And so it just, that it's very, very on brand. And it was very on brand because on top of that, they did there was the great, more of the Triple H's. It was a great week in wrestling. We're going to Netflix. Then they do The Rock. Then it goes into, then I think they did on commercial, and then they go into the Bailey vignette, and then the end. So before they knew the announcement was coming that he was leaving, so they were like, hey, look over here. Look at these good things that are happening, and we'll be fine without Vince. Like, look at this. We have The Rock back. He has the trademark he owns the trademark to his name. Isn't that great news? Who gives a shit?
Squirrel.
I don't care that The Rock owns his name. Good for him, I guess. But what
what does that do for me? That doesn't pay my bills. It doesn't get my car fixed or
I don't care.
keep my heat on. I don't care.
On top of that,
paying me royalties when he gets his singing? Because if he isn't, I don't give two F's. So.
Yeah. And his daughter made her SmackDown debut on Friday because she is the new. So on Tuesday, William Regal made his return to WWE television. It's the first time he's been on TV since he's been back. It was to name Ava. She used to be Ava Rain, but I believe she's just Ava now. It was to name Ava the youngest GM in WWE. So she's the GM of NXT now. And so she was on SmackDown on Friday to help Nick Aldis with Royal Rumble picks. Like, she had they were standing there while they picked their numbers, and she had a little tablet and was recording what number got drawn. But it's just,
it's funny because I did listen to This Many Observers, is that I listened to the one after that because Dave and Brian were talking about her, and they were like, I'm sorry, Dave, or it was Brian. He was like, I think we have to call this what it is. This is a nepotism hire. Like, this is one of those times.
Say the same thing for Nia Jax.
And and a lot of people, and it's like, I want to give you a chance, and I want to say, but the fact of the matter is that you're only here for one reason, and that I get it. Why? I mean, if I was another talent, that would piss me off too. Because I work my ass off. So.
Right. And I think that's why they took her out of a wrestling role. They took her out of a wrestling role and put her in a TV role.
They just want to make you look away from the yucky.
They do.
If they are.
Yeah. So then they want to be like, look, she's a fourth generation. I think she's fourth generation. She's fourth generation talent. She's a woman in a GM role. She is a young, it feels very much like, look, we do care about women. We have a woman GM.
Sweet.
A GM in a storyline that has no actual power in that company. But I guess
some of those women were working there while Vince was doing horrible things to at least one, if not many more, that potentially.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Just,
yeah. So we'll go. So we'll hit on this press conference real quick before we change.
Let's
subject. So I watched the press conference last night. I have never, let me preface this by saying, I have never had any intention of being in a WWE press conference. It's just not something I aspire to do. If the opportunity came up, maybe I would reconsider, but it's not something I have set out to do. That's not my thing. That I
probably wouldn't get asked back because you'd ask a real question and they'd kick your ass out of there.
Well, I will say, so they started out with one thing about WWE pressers that I actually do enjoy compared to AEW pressers is they're shorter. They get to, they're like maybe 5 questions for each wrestler, and then they open it up.
They're
to
structured.
Triple H. Yeah. So I didn't expect Bailey to be asked anything. She's not the one to answer for him or for this situation. So I didn't have an issue with her not being asked. I mean, if they had asked, like, did this leave a dark cloud over you? Sure, that's fine. Because apparently somebody asked Nia that, and she was just like, no, I don't.
They shouldn't be asking them about it anyway.
Well, they were told not to answer anything because that came out, and that's actually what made it to Inside Edition. That they were like,
I heard that in the Observer.
They were like, Vince McMahon was, this is all the things there's a lawsuit for all of these reasons, and talent has been told not to talk about it.
That was put in the Observer. Dave had that info in the Observer on Friday too. So.
Yeah, because that's
how I know that's actually, I actually did know that because of reading him. So
yeah. So then they got to Cody. Nick Hausman actually asked Cody. I was surprised when I saw Nick Hausman. I was like, oh no, what's coming? But he asked very thorough questions. I thought he did an excellent job with the questions he asked. Cody's answer was kind of what I expected. Cody is a company guy, no matter where he's at.
And he's a politician.
I was gonna say, if Cody has said in the past that he wants to be a politician. He's very good. He very good at it. But I think he handled it the best way that he could. And especially, I think Cody, because people were a little mad that they asked Cody, but Cody is a former EVP of AEW. Like he has a unique perspective that most people do not have, especially wrestlers
at that level.
I thought asking Cody was appropriate. And because he chose to come back, knowing that Vince was he chose to come back to this company that Vince has been at. And so Cody, I think Cody should have been asked, and I thought Nick Hausman did. I thought the questions were great. And then we get to Triple H. So Triple H comes out and he's wearing glasses. Guess you're not mean to him. I don't know.
Feel bad for I'm the victim here.
Yeah, I'm old and have to have glasses. Well, he comes out with a piece of paper, and we're like, oh, he's gonna give a prepared statement. No,
which might have been better.
And he should have. He's just up there like rambling and stalling, and I was just like, get to it. So he's just talking about how Tampa is a WWE town, and something about how Dusty used to draw. How he was a draw. Something about they drew 48,000 people, and some comparison to New Kids on the Block. I guess they drew like some big. I don't know. I kind of quit listening because he was just rambling, and it was just rambling about all kinds of stuff. Then he puts over the women, putting over the women's Royal Rumble and how great it is, and they loved having Jordan Grace there, but he didn't straight out say Forbidden Door, but basically he said, I don't like the term about doors. This is not the time. Because
bro, read the room.
Yeah, so then he's talking about that, but he did put over Jordan Grace and about how great she looked and how much of a star she is. I'm glad to have Naomi back. That's been a long time coming. He talks about Jade and just some other stuff, and then he literally just stalling, rambling. So he gets the first question, and it's Emily May. Emily works for New Japan. She does a lot of she interviews a lot of talent especially for the New Japan shows in the US. And then they had her there for Wrestle Kingdom. She's interviewing talent and things like that. So she does a lot of stuff for that. She also works for Sportskeeda. I'm not sure if she works for any other publications, but I know she works for them. So that she asked a question, and it was about the Netflix deal and how it's going to change sports entertainment. People have been piling on to her for the last 12 hours. Some people are more mad at her for not asking a question about sexual assault than they are about the sexual assault itself. And if you are more upset with her, then you need to stop and rethink why you're so angry at her, because you have misplaced anger. You need to be mad at Triple H for his shitty ass answers, and you need to be mad at Vince for doing the things that he did, and you need to be mad at that company for hiding it and covering it up. Leave her alone. Just point blank, leave her alone. There was another woman who later on, I can't remember the platform that she worked for. She also did not ask. Women do not have to be the one to ask about rape and sexual assault. You do not, of course, and I will preface this, any gender, obviously, can suffer from sexual abuse and assault and rape. That is not what I'm talking about. The point is, the onus is constantly on women, and it has been this way forever, but speaking out really brought it to light. It's not on women to always be the ones who ask. We don't know that if these questions are triggering to them. These Royal Rumble passes were sent out weeks in advance. They have assignments. She works for a certain publication. Maybe this publication is like, hey, you need to talk about this because I want you to write about it. Maybe she has her reasons for not asking. Is it the question I would have asked? No. Would I have personally asked about this lawsuit? Yes. But it is not strictly
our responsibility. They do this when this is victim. It's victim shaming, and it's refocusing the blame to the person that is being the victim. It's saying that because women don't come forward, it's their fault, or because like someone asked a question and I can't remember, because Jim Valley retweeted like the question, and I was like, I almost wanted to quote tweet it with, how come women never come forward with these things when they happen? Look at how you act when we talk to you. We can't say this is a catch, this whole situation, and it's become one of the biggest cultural catch-22s in the universe, is women getting justice for being preyed upon by anyone. And anyone who's being sexually preyed upon, even men, which again, I've experienced having my own husband be sexually harassed at fair, like touched inappropriately. I mean,
I'm sorry to hear that.
And it doesn't guess what? It doesn't make him feel better either, because he's a human being.
Right.
Keep your hands to your flipping selves. Like, the idea here is, and I don't want to make this about that kind of thing, because the idea here is that Janelle Grant is where we need to keep our focus. And that is where this needs to be addressed. People knew this was going on. Right. They were in the next room.
Right. And believe me, I get.
But I'd be scared if I worked there to say anything, wouldn't you?
Sure. They have to ask, though. And I get where people are coming from as far as they would have hoped that that's the question that she would have asked. But people are telling her like she blew it. She ruined her career because she didn't ask the question that they wanted asked. That's you.
Ridiculous.
I called out an account for saying something similar, and some random account called me a rape apologist last night because I said that women it's not on women to ask these questions. If they're not comfortable, they don't have to ask. And so I got called a rape apologist last night for that.
Because you suggested that both genders or all genders journalists should be responsible for.
Then I had another account who kind of said something similar, and I just blocked them too. And I get the frustrations with the women not asking certain questions. I get it. I complain about softball questions all the time. And yes, maybe. And so people were saying, oh, well, then she shouldn't have just raised her hand. So she shouldn't do her job because she didn't ask the question you want her to.
You want her to.
And I do. And you do. The reporters do have to take them to task. They do have to hold their feet to the fire. They do have to, in both companies, the same thing with AEW, with the stuff with Jericho. Like, they have to ask over.
Jericho was working at the company during some of this stuff, right? I mean, he was still employed there.
No, I think he
had just gotten out.
He was gone right before that. But we have to work together to get this figured out. This is, it's hard and it's going to be tricky to navigate. But finger pointing at women because they don't ask what you think they should ask is not it. That is not how you handle this.
No, that kind of actually sort of it's kind of like you're basically making the point that things need to change.
Right. There's no need to dogpile onto her and people are name calling and saying all of these things. And again, maybe that question, it wasn't the time for that question. However, we don't know what her job is. Maybe Sportskeeda's like, hey, ask about this, and then you're going to write about it.
Right.
That's her job. But the focus should be on Triple H and his terrible answering those questions, because John Alba asked really great questions. Seahawk from The Ringer asked a really great question. I know I'm forgetting. There was another there's another man who asked a really great question last night. So I do appreciate the men being some of the people who were taking the torch and asking some of these questions and not forcing women to be the ones to ask these questions. And I appreciate that they kept asking. They asked really great questions. Triple H should have just read a PR statement and just been done with it, because he's made it worse for himself. His responses have made it to other places. And I hope, whatever the next press conference is, hopefully maybe people will do a better job about asking certain things, but I just hope that we don't. Yes, thank you. It was Brandon Thurston that asked the third question. That was really great. Yes. But yeah, the women who didn't ask the questions are not the problem.
That's no kidding.
They're not the issue here.
Okay.
Vince McMahon is the issue here. WWE is the issue here. The way Triple H handled it. If Triple H knew things and because he claims he says he did not read the lawsuit. I don't buy that, for one. I don't buy it. If he's somehow telling the truth,
then he's an idiot.
Then he needs to read it, because he's implicated. A lot of people assume he's one of the.
Then he shouldn't be in a position of power at that company,
right? Maybe
that's his job to have read it.
Maybe he's not one of the four, but he is assumed to be one of. I don't know
how.
Or at least, if he's not one of the four corporate officers, he was on the board he knows some stuff. Also, somebody made a very good point. That man is the grandfather to your children. You don't want to know what he's accused of?
Gross.
You don't.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. It's gross.
Yeah. Well, and you think about the whole thing with Stephanie, and if he's not even to that level, but just some of the positions he may have put her in, there's some stuff that's come out that maybe that's why Shane McMahon's not there anymore, is because apparently there was something going around saying that his dad wanted him to be like him, and Shane did not want to participate and did not want to be like that. And so that's why he left and was gone for 7 years, something like that.
He was gone for a big chunk of time, because I remember when I started becoming a wrestling fan was when he came back. And I didn't know the story, so the people I was watching, they had to tell me the whole story.
Yes. So then there's
one of those, like, that's how I kind of mark my entry. That. Yeah.
So I think so I guess my guess is he probably will not come back. I'm sure they probably just don't want a McMahon involved in WWE at all. But then I hope there has to be an investigation. They have to go into this and find out who knew what. And, people have asked, well, where do you draw the line? That's not for me to decide. I don't work there. That's not my company. I can't say where you draw the line.
I think I think that you need the Connecticut district attorney, whatever region this is in, needs to get their
Janelle's case was filed in Connecticut. Because that's where that's where
the office is. And I know a lot of this took place in Florida and other jurisdictions as well, but these DAs need to be gathering evidence. Those text messages are plenty to be. That's alone is enough to potentially start a criminal case. Like, that's not. You can do something. It just depends on what. And so now you have to start to wonder, because things like district attorney's offices are rife with corruption. So we have to worry here. Is the DA going to start? Because the only way to get to the bottom of what we're talking about, like to know who knew what, is to have actual criminal investigators or professional investigators do a full investigation.
Right.
I mean, that's questioning the janitors and the secretaries and the people that installed cable. I mean, it's a deal.
And I think another thing they change. I know they used to be in Titan Tower, and they're in new offices now. So
but it won't matter because the crimes were where they were committed.
Oh no, I know.
Had the offices there at the time,
right? And so I'm just saying that people
thankfully
were let go and furloughed, so they were gonna have to start tracking people down. They're gonna have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so some people
Well,
were like,
we don't know that those people didn't get the axe first because they were potential problem, like could be potential witnesses in a case against Vince. So it's like, get rid of people.
And he made, like, one of the things when we I meant to say this when we were talking about all those people who were getting fired, like, you know, there's a whole bunch of talent that got fired and office people, and he made very clear, according to her lawsuit, that when they were furloughing people in her office and pretty much everybody got furloughed, he made sure that he said, I protected you so that you wouldn't lose your job. So then he uses that as another thing to hold over her, was like, well, you still have your job when all these people got fired because of me. So that's just another form of control.
Well, because he knew that was something that's a trigger for her, and he used it against her. He's just such a piece of crap. I mean, this guy is like manipulators like this. I really, 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 really hope that criminal charges are born from this stuff.
I hope so too.
I hope there's a brave DA out there that's willing to take the dive, because
somebody made a point yesterday, and it's probably cynical, but it's also something that's probably true, is that Vince has the money and the time to hold this stuff up in court until he dies. So he
can do the really shitty thing that companies have been doing, which is you reorganize after the fact and declare bankruptcy for that section of the company, and you don't pay the victims a dime.
Right, that too. There's that too. So I don't know where this goes. I do hope they're
really bad that this should be. Corporations should not be allowed to have this much just open, like there needs to be some oversight where these things aren't being allowed to happen. This is like unsafe workplace doesn't even like scratch the surface of the surface.
No, especially especially when there's other talent involved. Like he was trafficking her to a talent. Like that's just
multiple.
Yeah, it's like not like unsafe work environment doesn't begin to I don't know where they go from here. I hope an investigation is done. If Triple H leaves, if he leaves, whether his own accord or he's forced out or whatever it is, like, and and people are like, well, then who's going to run it? Well, then I guess that's not my problem. They should have thought about that before they decided to buy WWE and beg Vince McMahon to be part of their company.
The guys who do this know what they're doing. Ari Emanuel knows what he's doing, and Nick Khan more than that. I think there are still plenty of people who believe that the initial leak that started this fire came from Nick Khan, and that he knew exactly what he was doing the entire time.
Yeah.
I know
nothing would surprise me.
Wild conspiracy, and I still need to get my tinfoil hat that I need to build. I promise you guys one of these days. But these people are savages. Like this, these are not normal thinking people. These are like corrupt, corporate, profiting. They have a goal. They will reach it, come what may.
Yeah.
This is not like, this is the side of life that it's like, there's a reason that you don't get involved in these kinds of business, because you like have a soul.
Right.
I mean, this is soulless. This shit is soulless.
It really is. I have not used the other day, and I've said this a few times. I use the word depraved more in 24 hours than I ever have in my entire life.
Agreed. Me too.
And
I actually had to check. I spell checked it because I hadn't used it in such a long time.
Depraved is it, and I was talking to somebody about that, and I was like, because another friend was reading it because he's in a different time zone, so he was reading it later than all of us, and he was catching up, and he was just like, "This is heinous," and he was like, "But that doesn't even seem." And then another friend was like, "That doesn't even seem to cover it. Like depraved doesn't seem enough. Heinous doesn't seem to be enough." And I told him, like, when I was telling him about it, I was like, it's so bad, and that's not even gonna scratch, like, when you read it, like, that's not even gonna, it's hard to put into words.
Clearly.
Because it's awful, and in the end, more than anything, I hope that Janelle Grant and any other victims of his, actually I should say survivors, because surviving that is a miracle in itself.
That's
and
right.
still being able to be here. I try not to use victim when I can.
I agree
It's
with
not.
you.
I think I just, to survive that is, I can't imagine what that takes.
I think
to survive
that it's
something like that.
helpful when you make that point, because I think that it helps anyone who feels like a victim think, no, I survived that. I'm resilient. I have resiliency. I have survived these things.
Yes.
I just
and you have survived,
hope
and
to
you
everything that she is able to find
to
peace.
come. I can't even imagine what it took for her to come forward.
Yeah,
to even tell, not even to come forward in this, like, publicly where everybody now knows what happened to you, but to come forward to anyone, to tell them, to even speak the things that happened to them. I can't even imagine what kind of courage that takes. And then for other women, and just for survivors in general, even if they cannot come forward, that does not mean that they are not resilient. It does not mean that they are not strong. They have survived it, and they are still here. And that alone speaks volumes. I just hope that if these people decide to come forward, that they get whatever peace that they need. I hope they get the justice is hard in these situations. We see it all the time. It is very hard for victims of any type of sexual crimes to get, because that's, people ask, why didn't you go to the police? Well, why should they?
Well, why are you telling us this now? Why didn't you say it?
Right.
This goes back to, I mean, I remember Anita Hill. And the very first thing they did was say, why are you saying this now?
Right.
Well, because he's about to become one of the most important men in the country, in the nation. Mm-hmm. So it's important that you understand what's happening. And she lost.
Yeah.
That guy's a Supreme Court justice.
He sure is. So is Brett Kavanaugh.
So I wonder why women don't come forward.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And it happens time and time again. And these are people, and those are people in Supreme Court justices. And this is just WWE and just wrestling. But it's still right. And the former president.
And the current
multiple
one
times.
Too.
But it's so back to, yes, I hope the women that, whether they come forward, whether they talk about whatever happened to them, I just hope they find the peace that they need and deserve. They deserve that. They deserve peace. They deserve to have a happy, joyful life. They deserve not to be paralyzed by fear. They deserve to be able to eat meals.
Yeah,
they deserve to function as human beings.
I hope that this company doesn't. I hope that these people see at least some sort of like reparation in terms of money, because I worry these companies have a way of doing sneaky bullshit that makes it so they never actually have to pay it.
From what I've understand, like, she is still unable to work. Like, she was holding down a job afterwards, but there were weeks when
her PTSD was too bad.
But there were weeks when she said there were weeks that she could not leave her bed. And it cost her job.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, I can't either. So she has, and so people are going to be like, oh, so that's why she's doing the lawsuit. No, she's trying to regain everything that was taken from her. It's not even the monetary shit. Because there's a good chance she's not going to get the monetary stuff because he was supposed to pay her a lump sum and he didn't. So I don't think it's the money for her. Why would you put yourself through this knowing that that's how these people respond? She's trying to get her life back so that she can function as a normal human being.
And if you want to die on that hill, there's something wrong with you.
If you want to die on that hill, do not come here.
Yeah.
Go elsewhere.
Go away.
Because I've had it. I'm not dealing with it. I will block you and you might get a fuck you on the way out. Depends, but don't come here with that bullshit. Don't come here with that.
All right.
And so we talked about that longer than we had planned. We didn't plan anything. We were just like, we got to talk about it.
Yeah, we didn't have a plan. We wanted to.
And it probably could have been done much more eloquently. Things like that. And
I think
maybe with less cuss words, but I'm just very over some of the things that I'm saying.
I think that we can be honest, though. I think in fairness, the cuss words notwithstanding, we're all adults here, hopefully, and we can all sort of. Plus, again, you have been covering these issues the entire time I've known you and long before I knew you. So I really felt like this is your platform. You need to use it because you are in support of change and helping. So that's why I think it's important that we did have a conversation, and we should talk about fun things in wrestling now that are better than this crap.
Yes.
So go ahead and take that down, and thank you guys.
Thank you.
Anyone who stuck with us, appreciate it. Thank you. And we do see your comments in there.
We do. We appreciate that too. Yes, we appreciate the comments too.
Mostly you guys agreeing with us. And I think that, it's mostly, I think we're all on the same page here and nobody's happy about all of this.
No. And we need to just stop attacking the wrong people.
But the nonsense with that stuff, I know that I'll never
direct your anger towards and I know it's hard and we're all trying to figure this out together, and maybe things there's going to be missteps through this getting covered. Just remember the people who deserve your anger. It's
right.
It's Vince and WWE and John Laurinaitis and anybody else who was complicit. They are the one who deserve your ire and your anger. The rest of us are trying to figure out how to navigate this.
Agree.
Thank you, Brad. All right. So I guess we will, I don't know if I should just go ahead and talk about, I did watch the Royal Rumble matches. So I don't know, not the matches, just the Rumbles themselves. So I guess while we're
have
on
a quick convo about it if you want.
Yeah, I'll talk about it real quick. Mainly,
we did mention it at the beginning with Mike a little bit, but Jordan Grace and Naomi, right?
Yes. So Naomi was the number 2 entrant. So she came out really early. She had a great reception, even though we knew 99.99% sure that she was going to be in the Rumble. But she still got an amazing pop. She looked great. I was so happy for her. As I said a few weeks ago, if this is what she felt was best for her, I hope she got all the money that she asked for. I hope she gets merch. I hope that she gets a title run. I hope she gets the respect that she deserves. I hope everything is better for her this time around than it was before. And I'm glad that she went to TNA, because I think that experience will only help her as a performer. It will help her see that she is marketable. The right people are there, they will help elevate her. And so I was really happy for her last night. And then Jordan Grace was, I can't remember if it was entrant number 4. She was pretty early on. And like Mike said, she got a really big pop. People know who she is. I mean, it came out earlier in the day that she was going to be in the Royal Rumble. Like it leaked and we all knew she was going to be there. But it did. I think he makes a good point. People know who Jordan Grace is. Okay. Venkin says he thinks it was 5. Thank you. I knew it was pretty early on. I couldn't remember the exact number. But she, so they had that moment with Jordan and Naomi the former Trinity, when they were in Impact, they had a lot of stuff going on together because Trinity was the Impact Knockouts champion for a while. She did just lose to Jordynne Grace just 2 weeks ago. And then they had their rematch for the title last week. And I thought that was a really cool moment. They hugged in the ring and then they immediately started fighting each other. And so I thought that was really cool to see. And Brad, he says, it says something that Jordynne Grace got a bigger reaction, someone who has never been on WWE TV, than some of the women there weekly. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that
it's
is
great for TNA, actually. It does. I mean, it's not a lie. Like from the beginning there, like back to what we started out with, is that it helped Trinity get more or Naomi now return more elevated. But the fact that Jordynne Grace is like, usually, I mean, before this, I don't think someone coming from Impact or TNA would have been as noticed as.
And I think the reason that Mickie James was so noticed is because she came in as when she was in the Royal Rumble as Knockouts champion. But people know Mickie James. Mickie James has been wrestling for 20 years. She'd been wrestling in WWE before that. Like, people knew who she was.
Like a recharge,
and that's not to take anything away from Mickie, because Mickie is phenomenal. No. But Jordynne is somebody who, like Brad said, has never wrestled in that company before. And people knew who she was. And like, TNA was really great. They put out a tweet congratulating her on making history. And just and I thought that was really cool. She has tweeted that, this is not the last time that we're going to see her in WWE, or see her, I guess. So maybe they have hinted, they hinted at something with Bianca. They got a moment together. Bianca was the one to get her out of the match. Jordynne tweeted it today and told Bianca that would have happened on her home turf. So they're hinting at some stuff. I don't know what their plans are, how that will play out, especially because WWE doesn't typically play well with others in the US.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that will look like. It's exciting. I hope that it's something that's beneficial for both companies. It's definitely great for fans, as we always talk about. And then one of the other things I want to talk about from the Rumble that I really, really thought they did a wonderful job with. So Jade officially made her debut on she's been on each one of the shows just as a person, just to let people know that she's there. So last night she actually got to get into the ring. So she looked incredible, of course. Awesome. But one of the things, like, she was held in, I think she came in 28th, I want to say. So she came in late into the match, but so she comes in and she's right up in Nia Jax's face. Nia Jax has been out there eliminating people left and right, and Jade is the one to eliminate her. Good. And then she gets a couple minutes with Becky and some of the top women, which I think is really important, because in AEW, she didn't really get to interact with the big women. She didn't interact with Britt. She didn't have anything with Jamie Hayter. I don't think she did anything with Toni Storm. And they kind of kept her with, And so I thought that, like, putting her in that spot right off the bat was really smart. I think it shows that I think that she's going to be a big deal for them. They're going to put her in a great position. She's probably not going to be somebody who's in NXT. Even though NXT, from what I hear, is better with women's matches and how they present women and things like that. Sounds like she's going to be.
From what I hear too.
Especially because Charlotte is out. Charlotte is going to be gone for a while because she just had surgery.
They can't fall back on her now, so they're being forced to actually use the talent that they bought, which is kind of nice, actually.
Right. So I don't know.
I actually hear good things. It makes me want to check out clips. I'm close.
Right.
I just, as more interested in trying to catch up on my Noah, because
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was really I thought I was really happy with the way they handled Jade last night. I thought she looked great. They put her in there. They mixed her up with good people. She didn't get, she was eliminated, but it took 2 women to do that, which I thought was really smart. Like, they just made her look really strong and they made her look like a big deal. And they treated her the way that Jade is a superstar. Like we've talked about that. Like in AEW, like she was great. She's a great character. She has an amazing look. She's great on the microphone. Like and she's getting there with her wrestling. And I think that it will all come together. And I think, but being in WWE is a little bit better about hiding things that they need to hide, and accentuating what they need to accentuate to make her like. And I think I think WWE is a good choice for her, and I think that they can make her. I mean, she was already a star. Like she got to keep her name. She's Jade Cargill. They didn't make her change her name. She didn't have to change her essence. I mean, they can't say she's that bitch. I did hear them call her that chick last night. Because you can't say that on TV. God. But it made me laugh. But no, I was really happy for her. I thought the women's battle royal was much better than the men's. I wasn't even sure I was gonna watch because I was covering Collision live. And let me tell you, doing live results is extremely stressful. It's very stressful. And,
you guys are
it's because I have to figure out when to update, and we have to find like the biggest. I have to find pictures for each one. It's
I rely on the updates a lot, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's very stressful, and I've only done it twice because like when I used to do them for Rampage for DDT, at least I had like they weren't live. I was just writing things. I mean, it was stressful then, but I didn't have to go live until after the show was over. No, this has to be updated like every commercial break.
It's like every segment ending.
Yeah, and I have to add in like back, and then of course there's a ton. And like last night, I mean, Collision's typically like that where it's just boom 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 and it's like they pack a lot to 2 hours. Last night obviously they were going up against the Rumble, so they made things really impactful. They were doing a lot of stuff. They were moving stories were like I thought last
so
night
you had to do like analysis and updates while you were like, because it was like, and they ran a package for this and they
and then I'm like, well then because like of course like one of the first things that happens was like after the first match was Daddy Magic's in the back and Daniel Garcia has been beat up, and they don't know if he's going to be able to compete in the main event, so I have to make sure that I include that in there. Like some of the stuff I don't really have to put in there because it's not like if I have a second I'll put it like of course. So then I had to put like because now we know because Swerve the opponent that he picked for Hangman is Toa Leona. Toa Leona has never been, I think Swerve said, has never been pinned or submitted in AEW, or something like that. So like, I was like, I had to,
they're kind of setting that up, I guess.
Yeah. So it'll be like, so I thought last night's show was great. Like I loved Blackpool Combat Club versus Shane Taylor Promotion.
I love those fun. Yeah.
I love those guys anyway. Shane and I mean, of course, Blackpool, but I love Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. And so I was really happy that they got that. Like, I thought the match was really great. I like the story that they're telling. Like, you could have had Lee Moriarty, but you passed on him for Wheeler Yuta. Jericho passed on him for Daniel Garcia, and Lee's just been left behind, and Lee doesn't deserve that. And so like I thought, like I really like the story that they're telling, and Shane is
they've got him in the Don Callis family basically right now. So is that where Lee Moriarty is, or is
Lee's just with Shane Taylor Promotion.
Oh, okay.
Is he with Don Callis? No, I don't think he is. No, because Kyle Fletcher is.
Oh, okay.
It's Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita.
And Mark Davis is injury.
Is still injured.
Is apparently might be pretty bad. So like maybe but I don't. Okay, I thought for some reason he was with Don Callis for some reason because they were highlighting him more. But I think you're right because they were talking about the Omega stuff and
and so Kyle Fletcher is going to wrestle Jericho next week.
I've just noticed him on AEW television more. And I know how much you like him, and so I pay attention more because I'm like, oh yeah, Liam Moriarty's on here again.
Yes,
and he was wrestling Mox this week, and I was like, oh, dope. Like,
yeah, that was really cool. Like that match was good. I really enjoyed it. But so like that, and like I love Willie Mack versus Eddie. Willie Mack, nearly injured himself on the senton. He didn't get it. I think his knee gave out. Or his knee something. But they recovered nicely, and they did really they finished. It didn't hurt the match. Like they were able to just keep going. I really liked it. I thought the women killed it. Lady Frost is so good. Like I really have enjoyed her. I've enjoyed her the last 2 years. I like watching her in ROH. She's really good, and I thought putting her in there with Mariah, because Mariah hits very hard, which I really enjoy, and they put her in with women who will give it to her just as much as they will take it. I thought Lady Frost was an excellent opponent for her. Serena Deeb looked great. Robin Renegade, the Renegade twins get put in good positions. They are they're still clearly learning, but they got to, so I mean, that's a huge deal that Robin Renegade got to. Sure, it was a 3-minute match. She got a couple of things in though, and I think, I mean, and learning from somebody like her, I think is really important. Like, especially because like we've talked about how Athena was working with them, and Athena has been elevating the twins, or not the twins. They're sisters. They used to be twins. They used to call them Renegade twins. They're not twins. They're
Yeah,
sisters.
I know. I did.
And I catch myself, and I'm like, they're not even twins. So, but they've been improving a lot, and they really, when they're given those moments, like,
what's the other? Okay, so Robin Renegade. What's the other one going by then?
Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah, so those, I believe those are their real names are Charlotte and Robin, but those are the names that they're going by, and so they're just the Renegades now, not Renegade Twins, just the Renegades. Because I think I want to say they were like a year apart or a year and a half apart, something like. So they're really close in age, and they do look very similar. So it was easy for them to do like the twin magic stuff that they were doing on Dark and Elevation and ROH and stuff like that. But I think that says a lot for them to be getting put in those positions. So I was happy. Yeah, I thought the women looked great last night. It was really high. Like, I thought it was a really great show.
And they announced the matches in advance.
They did. We got 2 whole ass women's matches.
They
like, we
did it again for, I think, Dynamite for coming up this week, right?
Yeah, they did. And then and then this segment leading into it, where Tony said she wasn't allowed in Bossier City because she had 2 racehorses put down, and she couldn't be there. It's really great, and I just love it. Yeah.
Tony.
And Brad said getting more live mic time like Tony and Deanna's awesome segment. Yeah,
agreed. Letting Deanna cut a promo was the best thing ever.
Yes, Lady Frost was great. And the women's segments and matches have turned around. They have been, and again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I do like what I'm seeing. Not crazy about the boyfriend storyline with Ruby Soho and Ange.
Yeah, that's very WWE.
I like both of them. I just don't really feel
it has a real WWE vibe to me.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why I don't care for it. I don't know where it's going. And clearly there's some stuff with Saraya, and it's gonna lead to Saraya versus Ruby at some point. And then Harley is there. At least Harley is getting some TV time. Maybe she will get some wrestling in there. Maybe they'll let her have
at least they're using her in a better spot. Like that QTV
is better than QTV, that's for sure.
QTV was terrible, but she was like a highlight of it almost, where it was like, get her out of here so she can do something.
Yeah, so that I enjoy that, and I love the stuff with Willow and Chris and Stokely. Like, I think that's a lot of fun. Somebody pointed out, and this was an interesting theory, that they think that that's going to lead Megan Bain coming in, because she should be coming in soon. And I guess they think because Chris will not allow Stoke to manage her, that he was like, well, fine, I will find somebody I can manage and who will demolish you, and her name is Megan Bain. So I was like, well, that's an interesting theory. So maybe, because at first I couldn't figure, I was like, what the hell are they setting up between Stoke and Stat? Like, what is happening here? Like, why will he not leave her alone? And then I was like, okay, maybe I could kind of see that. Maybe that's where it's going. So it'll be interesting. So there is a lot of positive stuff happening, and I hope that it continues. And I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm getting a little excited about things, but I know better. So we'll just see how it plays out. But I will say, and we talk about the positive stuff when we see it, because I'm glad that it's happening. And I hope, and AEW overall this year, I know we're only 4 weeks in, but I feel like it has improved a lot.
I don't know, a lot's happened. It's not even January 31st.
Yeah. And so and I was joking the other day, we need to have somebody make a graphic, but I was joking that Tony's AEW 2024 is going to be a great year for AEW, as the new Tony Khan has a major announcement. And I was just like, I need a graphic that says, instead of Tony Khan's big announcement, it's Tony Khan says AEW is going to have a great year.
It's going to be a great year.
Brad says, I'd rather have Megan come in with Mercedes or something as heavy for them, similar to Big Bill for Ricky. Oh, that would be interesting.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. There's
or maybe
I think
Serena Deeb.
perhaps.
Since
I
she's
don't,
such
yeah, and
a
I'm wondering,
badass.
yeah, because Serena last night said she was coming for the title, but she didn't say which title. So I don't know if they're going to send her back to Ring of
I
Honor.
hope that- you know, when she said that, I really honestly was like, I hope that they give her a run at the women's title.
I wondered, well, and I kind of wondered if Julia was going to come out. I wonder if she's going for the TBS title first.
Yeah, I mean, I
Because
know that's where
the
they
big
tend to
title
start
is
people.
kind of held up right now because especially if Mercedes is coming in,
Fair.
if they're moving Chris away from TBS, they might be putting Chris in the world title picture. So little traffic there. So I'm wondering if possibly she goes for the TBS championship.
Interesting.
Or something. I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing with that. And then I don't think they're going to put the TV championship on Serena, but there is that title whenever they decide whatever. I haven't watched ROH this week because I was writing that article
busy
instead.
And things were crazy.
Because it was the same day. I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting to ROH today. And then I ended up watching, we recorded Impact TNA. And I still haven't seen the first episode
We
of
remember
TNA. I think
the DVR.
well, TNA, I didn't. We forgot that the
I know.
DVR would not record because of the name change. Well, it's still, when we checked a week later, it was still not up on demand. I'm like, so I haven't seen the first episode. The second one is recorded, but instead of watching the second episode, we watched Wrestling Revolver. Because it was Mox versus Gringo. Finally, that match was supposed to happen a few months ago, and then they pulled John Moxley to record to film the Parking Lot Brawl 2 match for Rampage. Then the next time they were supposed to do it, that's when Mox got concussed in the International Championship match against Ray Phoenix. So they did. Then finally they did. The show's called Mox versus Gringo. Like they're like, he ain't backing out this time. The show's named after him. He's got to come. So that was the main event, and then Alex Shelley has the remix title. But he was in a title versus title match against Jake Crist, because Jake Crist is the Wrestling Revolver title or champion. And so they did a winner takes all, and Alex Shelley won. So Alex Shelley has 2 titles in Wrestling Revolver, and he's the one half of the DPW Tag Team Champions. I don't know that he has any other titles. I don't think he has the title in Defy anymore, or Prestige maybe. I can't remember. So I think he has. So Alex Shelley has at least 3 titles.
Well, then he needs to take some of this stuff on tour and come home and show me some good wrestling.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting on that DPW announcement for you.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if he's wrestling with them, that almost seems like inevitable.
Yeah, I think so too.
He is everything I've read about him and the way that he is, and then just like following him and stuff now that I've been doing research. That guy is like, he wants the business to be good, so he's gonna like get things going. He'll bring it to anywhere he can, and he'll be like, "Look at these cool people I just found."
Yes, yeah,
it's like crazy. He's really like him and Chris Sabin. Just huge props to those guys. Like, but Alex Shelley, like, oh my gosh, behind the scenes, like he's great in the ring, but holy crap, he's done a ton for like, hey, you need to have this guy. Hey, you should have this guy. Hey, I want to wrestle this guy so that he gets over. Like.
Yeah, because somebody they put over that he puts over a lot even before it was Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver. He puts both of them over a lot. He just talks about
that's why I got to see him at that GCW show. So.
Right. And I was reading something that he posted on Instagram the other day, and he was talking about how like he doesn't know why Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne like wanted to train with him 2 years ago. And I'm like, because you're Alex Shelley, though.
You're awesome.
Because they're smart and they're like, hey, want to learn from that guy because he's very successful and has been doing it for 20 years.
And he's super humble, so maybe we can learn something from him too.
Wrestling Revolver was great.
Nice.
I enjoyed AEW that I saw this week.
Me too.
Nikki said that RJ recorded Tony on his Insta story. You couldn't see her, but you could hear her on the cruise, and it was really funny. Yeah, because Jericho Cruise is happening. It's
is that happening now?
It left on Friday, and the only reason I've seen it is because Veda and Speedball are on it, and Veda has been giving like little updates, and like one of them was that because they are not neurodivergent, they keep apples are a comfort food because it's a safe food, and they were like, and now my pockets are filled with fucking apples. And I wondered why, because I had forgotten about the cruise, and I wondered because she typically does commentary for Revolver, and I was like, and then I watched GCW the next night. Actually, I will take that back. I watched the main event because I didn't want it to get spoiled because it was Effie versus Mance, because Mance turned on Effie late last year, and I knew it was going to be awesome. Like that's for me, that might end up being like feud of the year because I love both of those guys. And so I was like, I don't want this to get spoiled. So after Nikki and I finished the last 2 Revolver matches on Friday night, I was like, let's just skip to the main. And I was like, oh yeah, oh, that's why Veda's not here, because Veda is on the cruise. And that's why they weren't on commentary. But then yesterday me and Nikki watched the Big Gay Brunch live. So Effie was in 2 very different type of matches. He was on Friday. He and Mance were in a match in the main event where he got gasoline poured on him.
Doesn't he do a Big Gay Brunch during the?
Yeah, they're good. He did 2 this year.
So this is a different.
I think specifically they did Tampa because of Ron DeSantis, and so they were not going.
Oh, okay, good. That was a big middle finger to the governor. Yeah. Cool, right on.
Yeah, so they did. The show yesterday was great. Nick Gage asked to do commentary, and he told and Effie tweeted about it a few days ago. He was like, Effie, make sure you tell me everybody's pronouns. I want to get them right. Make sure you tell me. And he was talking, one time on commentary, he was like saying something about like love trans people and let them live their lives, and everybody deserves to be happy. And so he was very happy to be there. He gave a lot of good wrestling, just commentary in general, and just some really funny sound. Like one of the things was he's always wanted to go to a Broadway show, and so I was like, somebody please take Nick Gage to a Broadway show. You're in a room
full of the people for that.
Yeah, so I think that's why I said it. And so it was a lot of fun. The matches were great.
I want to take Nick Gage to a Broadway show.
I was like, I have never been to a Broadway show because
I would love to take Broadway you and Nick Gage to a Broadway show. It would be hilarious to watch him go to a Broadway show.
I would love it. Yeah, somebody replied to my tweet and was like, he would love Hamilton. And I was like, probably. That seems like something he'd be into.
Hamilton's pretty upbeat. That's a good one. I'm trying. So many of the classics have closed, but there's new ones now, and I haven't seen a lot of them. And I didn't even know about a few until this weekend. So,
okay, yeah,
they're making everything into freaking musicals these days.
They are. Oh, Nikki did. Yes, Nikki said that. He said, I think I might be a little gay. I just realized that. Yeah, because he noticed Dark Chic came out, and he said, is her hair purple or violet? And they were like, I think it's more violet. He was like, and then that's when he was like, well, maybe I'm a little gay because I noticed that her hair might be a different shade.
Maybe
and they were like, hey,
we're all a little gay.
That's what they said. They were like, all right, well, if you think you are, then welcome. And so it was really, it was a lot of fun.
How about if you're attracted to a person, like if you're it's okay to be like, wow, that person's really pretty no matter what.
Right. Yes, exactly.
In your mind, you're allowed to think whether, no matter if that person is of the same sex or of a different sex or whatever gender. It's something. If you find something pretty, or you think that somebody's outfit's cool, or you like something like that, I mean, it's okay. Your brain does that. That's our brain. We go, wow, that's cool.
Right, exactly.
That's it. It's not that politics. These people that want to make normal brain stuff into ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Guys, take it down a notch, okay? You're too much.
Thank you, Brad.
Nick
Gage, recovering addict and bank robbing criminal, is more of an ally than anyone would ever imagine for someone with those qualifications, and it's awesome. Exactly.
Actually, to be fair, Brad, and that's a great point, I think that someone like him would actually probably have a lot more empathy and compassion for the situation because he has been through that, and Nick Gage is a survivor too, and he has come through those things, and he's doing what he's doing today. And that's like, think about that. Like, he went from doing that to wanting to like address you correctly, like in a respectful way. That's learn. The best thing you can learn from, like, that we can ask of each other is for us to just get better and keep learning every day.
Yeah, and that's like exactly
awesome.
We just when you know better, you do better.
Just keep learning, and don't be like, and if something like, even if it's new and scary and it's not normal from what you're used to, like, it's okay to be like, I thought that before and I learned this new thing, and it turns out that I think this way now because I learned this thing that made me realize that it's not like that anymore. Like,
yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, so the main event was Bussy versus MXM, which is Mansoor, and
that was like, so you guys basically like had to stop and watch your show that you was your favorite wrestling.
Yeah, but Mason, so I didn't see, because I was not watching SmackDown when they were doing the Maximum Male Models, I think is what they were called, with Mason. God. Well, it was Mace and Mansoor, but now he's Mason Madden. But so they cut this funny promo about how they had to go back into the closet to wrestle Bussy, and so back into the closet was wearing their outfits that they wore on WWE. And the match was a lot of fun, and it was really great. And I noticed Effie didn't do a whole lot, which I kind of figured. I was like, well, because he just got him and Mance just like tore it down like 12 hours ago. And so, but when he was in there, he did everything he needed, and he had a really great, he was like, it's easy to say fuck Ron DeSantis, fuck you trying to take rights away from our trans brothers and sisters and things like that. And then, but he was like, we're here, and we're giving up. But he did one thing I really was happy to see, was like, he said he found his passion for it again, because he was thinking about the big gay brunch in Philly was going to be the last one, because he said it's just very exhausting to put on, and to have to deal with all of this stuff on top of being a full-time wrestler and everything else. And so he said he was just getting like he's been saying for the last probably year or so that he was getting very kind of burned out with it. But then he said yesterday that really made him find his passion, and he was going to keep it going, because he's like, it's very important for people to have this platform and these places and things like that. So I was really glad to hear that. And then he made it sound like Alley Catch might have signed somewhere, because he was talking about how great she is and that he loved her and that he was going to continue being a cowboy. But he kind of hoped, as much as he loved wrestling with her, he hopes he never wrestles with her again. And it just kind of made it sound like
interesting,
she's going somewhere. And me and Nikki were talking about that, and our friend Doug was watching, and he texted, he said, is Allie leaving? And I was like, that's how we took it too. So I don't know, I haven't heard anything. I think that TNA would be a great spot for her. If that's what's happening. I have no idea. But I was very caught off guard by that. So we shall see if Alley Catch, and he kept calling, because he kept calling her Allison. So I was like, I don't know if she'll drop Alley Catch and just be, I don't know. It'll be interesting. But so that was a good show yesterday.
That's good.
It was nice to get away from.
Nice to see some good wrestling yesterday.
Yes, and seeing some good people doing good things. Oh, and I guess we should circle back to AEW for just a minute. I was not planning to get off on the tangent of about indie wrestling, but since he is in the picture of this, I guess we should talk about Sting for a minute. Is that Sting, Sting and Darby?
Only we would put Sting in our picture and then not talk about him.
I did not want to put Vince in our picture.
Well, there was no way in hell that was happening.
Yeah, so I'm like, and we didn't. I was like, Naomi probably will be in there, but I was like, what if she's not? And then we make her our picture, and
then we're talking about like how, hey, she's unemployed.
And I was like, you know what? We're gonna put Sting, because Sting is the best, and
you get to see him retire.
Get to see him, and when I see him, he could potentially be a tag team champion.
Correct.
He could potentially be one half. So when we were talking about it, So Homecoming is when the Bucks seem to challenge him, but they didn't officially do it. The match has not been made official.
Right.
Which people keep forgetting. It will probably be made official once they win the tag team titles, I think. I think is what's happening. So they are challenging in two weeks in Phoenix, I believe, for the tag team titles, because Darby pointed out that now that rankings are back, they're 27-0, so they're number one contenders. And you know what? You still got it. And why don't we try to go out? You try to retire as a champion. And then Sting was like, he says, it's funny because he was quiet and then he was like, I'm all in, as an all-in graphic is behind him. And I was like, and I didn't catch it until I saw, who was asking? Somebody on Twitter was like, so is he retiring at Greensboro or like?
Yeah, but they could bring him back for features, I guess, if they
maybe
wanted to.
So because I didn't catch it the first time.
Maybe they're just trying to sell tickets to All In.
Maybe I was reading, because I saw
subliminal messaging
the segment, and I was like, oh, he did say All In, and the All In graphic is on the TV behind him, and I was like, they planning? Was that on purpose? Did it happen to be? I was like, that seems a little too convenient for him to say he's all in and the all in graphic be behind him. Seems a little convenient. So perhaps he doesn't even wrestle. Maybe he just comes and they bring him out and do something nice for him in the UK. I don't know. So supposedly his last match is going to be at Revolution, and they put out a t-shirt with Sting that looks like the old 80s shirt. It's hot pink and not neon, but like this bright blue color. And Nikki and I saw it and I was like, well, now I know what I'm wearing to Revolution. Showed her, sent it to the group, and and Nikki was like, we should all get those shirts to wear. And I sent it, and one of our friends was like, well, he was like, I'm about to buy that. So
it's a really cool shirt.
Yeah, like, and it says I think it says, does it say Revolution or it says I think it says last match 2023 or something, or 2024 or something like that on it. So they do have merch, making it sound like it's this last one, but who knows. But it's just funny that the way they kind of built this it's the way they're building it is really weird, because the Bucks seem to want it, but they haven't said, like, the match isn't official, and they're talking about how basically Sting is old and doesn't need to be there anymore. And then they're like, rankings are back, we're the number one contenders, let's go get this. So I was trying to figure out how they were going to get the titles on them, because I thought a few weeks ago that's what the match was going to be for World's End, and I thought Darby and Sting were going to win it then, and then go into Revolution with them, and then they kind of went backwards to get them there. But I assume that's where we're heading. I assume that they're going to win it in 2 weeks. So then the Young Bucks will be like, hey, we want those because we're the EVPs. And we're the EVPs, so we can make ourselves
outstanding cash in, or did they do that already?
No, that was the match at Full Gear. Was if they won the match. Like, what was the stipulation? It was basically because they lost that match, they don't have the right to the tag team match.
Call it anytime.
Then Kenny obviously got sick
right
after that. So
maybe this is the makeup for that situation. Well, that's how that's how they're re-gearing that situation.
Yes, and then if Sting and from what we've heard, Sting picked the Young Bucks to be his opponents in his final match. Which sounds like that's how they wanted to do it, was to give him to let them go. And that's why I don't know if they go in, because we've talked about it. Does Sting wrestle? I mean, does he leave AEW undefeated? And you talked about how probably everybody but Sting wants it to go out undefeated. Sting will probably no, let me lose. So they could win the titles and then Darby vacates, or they can get brand new titles or something like that. So there's a couple of different things that they could do with it. And Brad said, I've already fantasy booked Sting and Darby retaining the titles against the Bucks, Sting vacating them, and then AEW running a C2 style tournament to crown the new champions. Well, I would love that if that's what they decided to
actually like that fantasy. I've heard some people fantasy book that, or maybe I just read Brad fantasy booking that on one of the channels. Because I know that we've all been talking about it, like all around, and even like group chats and in the Discord and stuff. But I actually like that. I like the idea. I'm all about them having the belts, however they do it.
Me too.
Really like, when I first heard it, I was like, well, he's retired. And I was like, I don't care. You can do so many things with that. I don't even care.
Yeah, and they're kind of starting to, we see that they're kind of starting to
awesome.
rebuild the tag team division too, because they've been putting focus on Private Party and on Top Flight.
Yeah.
And they've kind of been focusing on that. The Hardys have been doing some, so not that I think that they'll necessarily be in contention for it, even though they were supposed to win the titles before Jeff got arrested. That was the plan. So not that I think they're going to put the titles on them, but but then they're kind of hinting at Jeff Hardy turning heel. They've hinted that a couple times. So it seems like they're starting to pay attention to the tag team division better and on more than just FTR. So, I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully a renewed focus on the tag team division, because they have a really good one and they need to figure stuff out. So hopefully they'll get on board with that. And I just want Sting to be a champion in AEW before he leaves, whether he drops it at Revolution or I want him to wrestle. And I want him to retire undefeated, because I don't think anybody that will not ever happen again. And of all people who deserve to retire undefeated, it's Sting, especially considering how his career nearly ended. So I would prefer, but I know that Sting probably doesn't want to do that, but regardless, I'm excited for this match. I'm excited. I hope they make the match official, because I want to know how they build this match over the next.
Let's go.
Yeah,
let's get people.
Yeah, because if that show is in little less than 2 weeks now, and that gives them 3 weeks to build. That only gives them 3 weeks to build a story with the Bucks. The Bucks I guess that's the point they already kind of did, because the Bucks made it seem like that's who they wanted to wrestle. Then they talk shit about Sting or not about Sting, but about old wrestlers, or however they put it. And so I guess that's kind of what started it. And then they can pick up when they win the titles, and they've got the 3 weeks to build it. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, but I like the idea.
I do too. I really
it makes me happy.
I would love to see I would love to see a C2.
That'd be a lot of fun for his retirement, no matter how. Again, I think there's a lot of things you can do with that, and
yeah, I think so too.
I'm excited. You're gonna get to see a show.
I know. I'm really excited about it. I'm very excited, and I can't believe it's just a few weeks away. And so I'll give you a tiny little tease. So because I will be at Revolution, I will not be on the Revolution pre-show, which makes me sad, because we love the pre-shows here. However, Mel has already found a wonderful honorary broad who I think will make you guys very happy. And we will announce that once it gets a little bit closer. But
we have a fantastic, very friend of the show, but honorary broad that I think will be a really good person to have the Sting retirement.
Yeah.
Because the person has a lot of skin in that territory.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yes. So you guys will be in very good hands.
And it's someone that you all love from this network already, so you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh, it's just someone I love.
Yes.
And we have a guest next week too, because we are just rocking.
We do have a guest next week. I was telling Nikki the other day, I was like, remember last week when we thought the biggest story of the year was going to be Okada leaving New Japan and changing the face of wrestling? And now it's going to probably be the number 2 story of the year. That's insane, because Okada leaving Japan,
the entire core, like
huge.
Him leaving and them losing their core and being in a rebuilding thing, and the fact that the biggest promotion in Japan just like is on their butt right now and has
Yeah.
to. I listened to Kevin Kelly and Jim, and Kevin was very, very like open, and he gave a lot of time to Jim. It was a great interview. I highly recommend you go seek that out. It was the Observer Live from last weekend, I believe.
Oh, right. Yes, I did not get a chance to listen to
Valley
that.
interviewed Kevin Kelly, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Kevin opened up about the whole thing. And
I bet he had some really good insight.
Carpet about like why things were the way that they are right now.
Mm.
I was like, wow. And then Wednesday and Thursday happened.
Yeah, and Brad makes a good point. January isn't even over with. I really hope we get some downtime until the next huge story, please.
That's what I said. I'm like, January isn't even over till Wednesday here, folks. What is happening?
We've already had the 2 biggest stories of the year, and because we were talking about how we've had really great matches this year, and then we had the huge story
many
and
good
then
matches. I still need to get to that Keno match that John keeps yelling at me about. It's literally. I just have to. I need to sit down and press play. It was like all this stuff happened, and I had to read.
Oh yeah, Nikki and I had our weekend. We were like, okay, we're gonna watch ROH.
We
were like, we're gonna watch ROH, then Wrestling Revolver. Friday after I cover SmackDown and we watch Rampage, we'll start GCW, and then no. I got some
wrecked my entire weekend.
Yeah, I got some of it, but okay, I still have to go watch.
You know what? I'm not giving him that. He doesn't.
No, but we will. We'll keep you just a little bit longer because speaking of amazing wrestling and amazing people in wrestling, Asé is just under a month away. Their second show is February 24th, which is a Saturday. They haven't said yet how you will be able to watch the show. I assume they're going to stream it like they did last month. Hopefully, or not last month, but it was last month. Okay. Yes, it was last month. It was December. So yes, we got some new match updates this week. And they're going to be some really good ones. I didn't have time to do the graphics, but I figured once we get closer to the show, we'll do a bigger thing for that. We'll do that. But yeah, so this week we found out that they're going to do Movie Mike versus Ian Maxwell, which I'm really looking forward to because those are 2 guys who I've watched their careers over the last few years. They were part of, if you watch the first show and they did the Team North Carolina versus Team Georgia, they were both on Team North Carolina. They have trained together for years, and so this will be a lot of fun, I think, for this one. And I'm glad that they're gonna, because the 4-way was or the 8-man was a lot of fun, but I'm glad that they're gonna kind of get some one-on-one time so people can see what they do. Because Ian Maxwell's nickname is Fast as Hell, and it is not just there because it rhymes, it is fact. Ian is really quick in the ring, and so I'm looking forward to that. There's quite a few. It looks like there's going to be quite a few women's matches on this card. Another match that was announced was Mia Friday versus Jada Stone. I have not seen Mia Friday before. Jada, I saw her wrestle in DPW in January, and she wrestled Queen Aminata. So that was the first time that I'd seen Queen Aminata outside of Dark and Elevation, and so I got to see what she could really do when she's not wrestling in 2.5 minutes. And now we have seen, since she's been back, we can see what she can do. So I got a glimpse at that last year at the DPW show. So I'm looking forward to that, and finding some new talent, and especially new women talent. That's always fun. Then the big match that got announced last week that I'm really, really looking forward to is Yaya versus Sunny Kiss.
That's fun.
I can't wait for that match because Yaya, again, somebody I have watched from the beginning of his career here. He did leave for a bit and went back. I think, was he in Baltimore? Can't remember where he's from, but he was here for a couple of years, and Yaya is incredible. He is a big man who moves. He's very agile. He's
a lot of fun. Really, he was on the first show. So
he was also on Team North Carolina.
It was nice, but I remember him. Like, he stood out to me. I remember him.
Yeah,
so I was like, when I saw this, I was like, dope. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I think, a lot of people were talking about, once that show was over. So I'm glad to get him.
That was the first time I'd seen. So it's
right. So I'm glad he's going to get a singles match on this show.
Really hardcore.
a lot of people are really gonna be impressed. And then to get to wrestle Sunny Kiss is huge.
fun.
I think that's gonna be a great match.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. And then we do know a couple of other things. So the King Bees, so Charity King wrestled on the last show as well. She wrestled Kiera Hogan. So she's back, and she has brought Danny B with her. I don't know much about Danny. I believe she is in the I don't know if it's I was going to say the Texas scene, but I believe that she's from Oklahoma. I believe so. She's out in that area. And so I'm looking forward to that. They are in action. We don't know who against. And then we also know that Jocelyn Navarro, Brooke Valentine, and Roche Chanel are also going to be in action. And so if you watch Dark and Elevation, then you are probably familiar with Roche. She's a lot their character is a lot of fun, and I really am looking forward to seeing them outside of the Dark Elevation 2-minute platform. I'm really excited to see what they do. And so we do know that Teddy Long and Ron Simmons they're doing meet and greets with both of them. Our friend's guess is that Teddy Long gets made special GM and puts the remaining women in a tag team match. I will not be surprised if that's how that goes, but that seems likely. So we've got that. And then of course we've got the 2 matches that were announced previously, which is Sugar Dunkerton versus Caprice for the Pan-African World Diaspora title or championship, and then Darius versus Darius, which is Darius Lockhart versus Darius Carter, will be the main event of that show. So there was a lot of good stuff announced with that.
That's right.
So I'm looking forward to that show. I need to reach out to people and see I don't know if Darius will be available to come back, or if we can get somebody on the show to talk about it, and of course, when we find out how you can watch that, we'll pass that along.
Yeah, we'll keep that. We
want to make sure that you see that, because it's going to be a really good one.
Mel needs to see it too, so
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think we got everything.
Cool.
We made it through. Thank you for sticking with us through this episode, especially through some of the difficult conversation. Again, I know we probably didn't handle it perfectly, and probably could have handled it, different. We didn't know exactly what we were going to say. We just kind of went with it, and unfortunately, we have to talk about these things. We would rather talk about the things that we like we did afterwards. So we wanted to have a nice balance. And plus, everybody has, this happened on Thursday, and a lot of people have already weighed in, and a lot of people who have, I'm glad that we did weigh on it, because it is something that affects us all as just wrestling consumers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Nikki made a good point. I saw that. I forgot about this. That Darius Martin said he felt left out of the Darius 1 and 2 thing, and she said, please get to him at some point. Yes. So Darius Carter has said that since Darius Lockhart hasn't been wrestling, he moved into the number 1 position, and Darius was like, well, it took me leaving for you to become number 1, Darius. So I'm back. And then Darius Martin was like, okay, but my name is Darius too, and I want in on this. So yes, hopefully we do get Darius Martin versus Darius Lockhart, or Darius Carter, or maybe we get a triple threat.
Maybe a 3-way.
Maybe we'll do that.
Triple Darius.
I will take that match. So
I Darius you match.
There you go. We gave you a name. When we get Darius on here, we'll tell him, like, hey, we have a match idea for you. Yes, he is correct. It does affect all of wrestling, unfortunately, and so we have to talk about it. And I'm sure, and more will come out, regardless of if it's more women or it's the investigation or however they decide to move forward. So we will talk about it as it comes, but we will also talk about the things that we love, because we shouldn't lose sight of that.
Well, there's plenty to love about it, and we can't let him define it all.
Somebody said Darius versus Darius versus Darius on a pole match. There we go. Yes, and then Nikki said it has to be called the I Darius you.
I mean, hey, it just kind of writes itself. I'm just here. I'm just here to help out.
Oh goodness. But yeah, so make sure next week, we're so bad at this. I keep forgetting. make sure if you like what you heard today that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that is where you can find us every Sunday, usually Sundays, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And then on Wednesdays is the Dynamite show following Dynamite. And then on Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time is Speaking of Strong Style with Jeremy and Steven. And then sometimes there's special breaking news episodes, like when Okada leaves Japan,
which we are actually going to have a more extensive talk about next week.
Yeah, and so there's always, and then wherever you subscribe to podcasts, Fight Game Media has even more great content. There's the Rap, who covers WWE, and I would definitely make sure you check out this week's episode. I know that Keela Cash is going to have a lot to say about Vince McMahon and that situation. So I would definitely.
And she knows what she's talking about. She consumes
and
the product.
I think I'm sure Scott's going to want to talk about
lady.
it, but Keela has definitely said that she's got some things to say. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that, to hear what she's going to say there. Then there is the boom that is happening. Oh. Okay, Brad has some good information that we got some breaking news that we'll get to in just a second. Got some breaking news a little bit over here. Is that Andrew Zarian just tweeted that he spoke to WWE officials and there is no relationship with TNA beyond the Rumble.
They're bad.
Jordan and Bianca would be money. Jordan and Jade would be money. That's money you want to leave on the table, then that's on you. But
totally. If you don't like money, I can't help you.
Yes, so please make sure that you subscribe and like, and we will be better at promoting that. But we will be back next Sunday at 1 o'clock. We do have a very special guest. I don't know if we are announcing yet who this honorary broad.
I mean, we're allowed to say because we've talked to him about it, but it's up to you if you want to actually.
You can go ahead because was your idea and you got the ball rolling. So if you want to tell the people who our honorary broad is, it's a new honorary broad.
New honorary broad, but someone that actually introduced us to another honorary broad. So, but we used to be on the network together. Justin Nipper, who works over at Noah nowadays, but is also still doing. He's done stuff with Fumi, and Fumi and Jim have had their piece, and Fumi and Kevin have had their piece, and you and I afterwards were talking about like how does this affect the broader picture of the Japanese wrestling scene, and who we could ask about that. And I was like, holy crap, we know somebody.
We do.
And he was very kind and very excited to come on. And he's actually going to be on live, guys. So if you have questions or something, go ahead and pop them right in the Powerbombshells Discord or throw them up on the...
Or you can throw we're on Twitter at Powerbombshells. So definitely if you want to tweet us your questions, if you have anything for Justin Nipper, because we're going to talk to him about... Thank
you for pronouncing it properly.
I always like go back and forth. I'm like, am I saying it right?
It's okay. I'll ask him so I don't sound like a dingling. But
I may have said, I don't know if I always am like, is that right? But yes, but Justin will be here with us, and so we'll talk to him about Noah and what's happening with Noah this year, how Okada leaving Japan affects not just New Japan, but all of the other companies and all of that stuff. So if you've got any questions for him, please definitely let us know.
Ton of talent over there.
They do. And like and there's a relationship between New Japan and Noah. They've had some talent exchange, and like, how does that work? And how does this play into Okada leaving and all that good stuff? So that's what we'll be talking about next week. Hopefully, barring, knock on wood, nothing too crazy happens, and we can actually just talk about Okada leaving. We're talking about what we thought was the biggest story of the year.
We're doing because I said so, and I'm the boss of this thing. And no,
there we go.
All right. Anyway,
but yeah,
we're gonna end this because we love you guys. Have a great week. Thank you for sticking with us.
Yes. See you next week.